Mr. Srinivas Chunduru, who is basically an IIM alumni. He's also founder and CEO of VMentor.ai currently. Previously, he was CEO of Pyramidal Capital and Housing Finance. It's an $8 billion company, where he demonstrated great leadership skills, a deep understanding of the industry. So, as an alumni of IIM, it's a great institute. He brings a very unique perspective to this industry. So, please join me to give him a warm welcome on the stage. Thank you so much. Thank you. So, Mr. Srinivas, let's start understanding your current company, VMentor.ai. So, what do you guys do as a show?
Thank you for that. There are two things in my life. One half of the day, I try meeting startups and try investing in them. Other half of the day, I keep meeting investors for our operating company to collect funds from them. So, Vance Investment is a boutique family office which invests into startups. And VMentor.ai is a platform for upskilling. So, in the last year, we have upskilled about 15,000 MBA students and engineering students, and probably about 60 corporates. It's a tech-driven platform, but with about 275 on-ground mentors working closely with these corporations.
That's great. That's great. Well, I can't stop noticing that you spent 22 years in a traditional businesses. You were working for Pyramidal, you were executive in a couple of companies, and suddenly you stop all and you switch to a startup world. So, like, what inspired you to do that?
Yeah, so I worked in one company for 22 years. Straight from my MBA, I worked in Pyramidal Group, worked across multiple functional areas. If I have to be honest, and with a lot of humility, in the Pyramidal Group, probably I was youngest everything. Youngest manager to a youngest vice president to a youngest CEO. So I thought that I'm doing okay in the career and reasonably well in the career. And I want to just tell one flight changed my life. I took a flight to Bangalore from Mumbai. And when I took the flight from Mumbai, I had a bit of chip on the shoulder in my arms to say that I've done reasonably well in career. I've grown quite well 20 years into the career. I landed into a company called Ola and met Bhavish Agarwal, who was at least 10-12 years younger to me. And in that conversation, I realized I was oldest in that company, right? So from a youngest to a oldest was the transition for me in the world of startups. The startup that I started, which is VMentor.ai, I'll tell you the real background behind that. I was interviewing, as I was a group CHRO at Pyramidal before becoming the CEO. I was doing a mock mentorship session as part of HR brand building into different corporates in a tier 2 MBA college in Pune. I was interviewing this girl called Lakshmi, whose mother tongue happens to be Telugu and my mother tongue also happens to be Telugu. End of 3 minutes of interviewing her, I concluded that I'm saying with a lot of responsibility that she was no good. She hardly could speak English. She did not know what she was talking. It was all over the place. I am by nature very impatient, and I was thinking, what am I wasting my time on? But I realized that I was not interviewing her that day, but I was supposed to be mentoring her. So there's a difference in the way you think. I said I should be fair to this girl, Lakshmi. 3 minutes, I can't just discard her saying that you're no good. I started talking to her in Telugu, made her comfortable. And I asked her one question. Tell me one area which you feel that you are better than 11 lakh other MBAs that India produces, or 1,500 MBAs in that college, tier 2, tier 3 college. She passionately explained to me saying that give me a retail format, I will tell you how to set up that company. Trust me, the 15 minutes mentorship session went on for 2 hours. Still she did not know proper sentences in English. She did not know how to express it clearly, but wonderful, fabulous, a very, very detailed answers she had. That's the moment of time where I thought that in next couple of years I should set up a company which would talk to such Lakshmis across India and really mentor them to take to the next level. Just because they are in tier 2, tier 3, we can't discount them. Very happy to say today Lakshmi is a regional HR manager in one of the retail companies, one of the good retail companies of Aditya Birla she is working for. Now that inspired me, and I said, if many of us can do this work in a structured scale fashion, we can set up a startup. That's the start of VMentor 3.5 years back. Today we have about 280 odd mentors. We work with 100 odd colleges. all tier 2, tier 3 colleges that we work with, and a reasonable amount of technology that we use. The satisfaction that we get is, we chalked a mission for ourselves to touch 500,000 learners, careers and lives of 500,000 learners by 2026 by enhancing their employability quotient. We firmly believe that an employment is not of an individual but the family and the ecosystem. So our mission is to touch 500,000 lives in India. Currently we are at 15,000 and 30 times to go. But we are very confident today the family is growing. That's my shift from traditional companies to companies like VMentor, Ola, etc. that I'm associated with.
So basically your passion to mentor students to the good career is one of the reasons basically.
So we work with the colleges. First set of thing we work with the college, faculty, etc. to see that whatever we are doing is sustainable. Otherwise once we are out, we are out. We work with the students for about 18 months from the time they go into an MBA or an engineering degree, and about 30 odd interventions in mentorship where 70% of it, the faculty, my mentors actually sit with the students and work, and 30% of it is online. We have got a wonderful app to do that.
Okay. And what are the common challenges that every founder, that's a question I'm sure comes a lot, but what are the common challenges all the founders are facing these days, like key challenges?
Sure.
Yeah.
No, as I said, as a family office, we are invested in 14 startups, sustainability to electric vehicles to some of the edutechs, and we run our own startup which has about 300 odd people. I think the first and biggest challenge which a lot of us undermine is people. What kind of people are we able to attract? What kind of co-founder comes in? What is the cultural nuance of the company? I firmly believe that people come with a shelf life. So when we started a company, we were no one. Except the fact I was something in some company, my co-founder was something in another company. Nobody knew us, right? So the kind of people we attract may have been suitable at that particular point of time. Are they suitable today when we are at a scale, when reasonable amount of funding has come, we have grown? So I think we'll have to be practical on this aspect that people come with a shelf life. How do you upgrade the people? How do we have that culture of taking people along? I think that's the biggest challenge. As my previous speaker talked about org structure, we undermine. In a startup, everybody reports to everyone. Yeah? But the challenge is, sometimes we should look into the eyes of our employees and ask them, dude, are you clear about what you're doing? Trust me, 9 out of 10 of them are not clear why they are here, what they are. I think the second important aspect is, I'm not taking away anything. I was a CEO of a 55,000 crore financial services company. But financial services existed from the time my grandfather must have been in school or much before that. There are some practices, there are some best practices, there is some history, there is some data, there are people who have done it. Life is much more easier. Startups by nature is trial and error. You don't know what you are getting into, you don't know the scale that you are going to achieve, what is going to work. And it's not everybody's baby to get into these areas. And you will often find stars coming from the traditional world or different companies struggle to work in startups. So that's the second part. Third, my personal feeling is there's no competition. This is what one of my investors, a known fund who is already invested, asked us this question during the due diligence or discussions. Who is your competition? Nobody is our competition, or we are nobody's competition, because the space that we are playing in, there are 10,000 players already. But all 10,000 put together don't even cover 5% of the market. Is Ola and Uber competitor? Answer is no. Let's get one data. I have been on the board of Ola for several years to tell you that before Ola Uber came to India, 75,000 cabs were in India. 55,000 in Mumbai, 5,000 in Calcutta, 5,000 in Chennai. Whole of India had 75,000 cabs. Now when Ola Uber came, and today the situation is 35 lakh cabs are there. They have expanded the market. They have not competed with each other. They have not competed with the black and white. You look at Zomato, Paytm, this is a new market that we are creating. So I don't think we have any competition or anybody has competition with us. Put together, we are not even 10%. So how do we collaborate? How do we partner with each one of it to grow? Because remember, in a startup, my feeling is, unlike a traditional company where you have 50 years to prove yourself, you have 5-10 years. Either you are there or you are not there. So I guess in this 5 years, if you'll have to do, what kind of collaboration can you do? The last but not the least is, what is your skin in the game, which sir has already talked about. any startup where I find, it's like a part-time business of the founder, or it is nice to have, or in other words, if our money sinks and the founder is untouched, I will be very uncomfortable touching such startups. So I think combination of all these things around people, structure, and ecosystem are the challenges.
Sure, that's insightful. One of the big difference between startups and traditional is basically the focus on the traditional businesses were built on building profit. A lot of focus on profit from month one, keep the burning rates down. Whereas the startups coming up, a lot of focus is on raising monies, and it's also famous that they spend a lot of investors' money. So how do you mentor them to keep focus on profit and building a solid business rather than basically focusing on investments? Does it come a lot?
Sure. So I think balance is somewhere in between. A startup, the scale that they talk about, the impact that they talk about is substantially higher than traditional companies. Having said that, vanity matrices should not be chased for. For example, if you look at any of the toll bridges, right? Now you can't look for profitability of a toll bridge for a reason that it is meant for society good. But it does not mean that your IRRs are minus 50%. So I think important aspect is along with the impact that we create, what cost does this impact come in? I think that's first part. Second part, as a startup founder, you should be passionately dispassionate. You should know when to drop it like a hot potato. I'm not saying I've been 100% successful in my startup as well. Dr. Srinivas Chunduru, who is here, he's our advisor and has been on our board of studies and he's aware of what I'm talking about. He comes from the academic world and director of Jamnalal Bajaj and one of the finest directors in India. We work very closely with him. He's aware that we tried something in MSME last year. We almost had a profitability track record from 3.5 years that we are into. Every year we made money in spite of COVID being there. Okay? Now we lost $100,000 last year on the MSME sector. But we had clear guidelines internally saying 100,000 or 8 months, whichever is surviving, we'll do that. We dropped it like hot potato. We just moved on from there. So I think when you are too passionate about something and fall in love with an idea, that's where the problem comes in. So how do you kind of drop it? Doesn't matter, it's an experiment, move on from there. Don't average your falling stocks. I think that's an important thing for a person to look at. Second, I think, very important that every day morning that you come to the office, ask yourself one question. Out of the hundreds of employees that you have, how many of these employees can buy a flat or a house or make their first 1 crore genuinely out of your startup? That's your contribution. That will give you a lot of pressure to say that, am I really spending the money wisely? How can this guy who comes from a lower middle class person buy a car? You are responsible for that. So all I'm trying to say is that don't chase only profitability because impact is an issue over here. But at the same time, don't go berserk on terms of spending money to buy your customers. Third, be dispassionate. Drop some ideas if it is not working. Have those goalposts ready with you.
So basically, not only profitability, but focus on the value creation for the society, for the value creation of the employee, all the stakeholders. So,
absolutely.
So you help them measure it holistically. How do you measure success? That's very nice. I think we had 10 minutes. So do you want to give any message or any piece of advice to all the startup people who are here?
I think it is a misconception, and it's not that I am a veteran in the world of startups. It's 3.5 years that I'm into that. It's a misconception that funding is the most important thing. My feeling is if you have good ideas and you have skin in the game and you have a good team, funding will follow. It's not an exaggeration. When your idea is good and you meet your first $1 million revenue and stuff, you would have enough and more people chasing you for investment. So I think 80% focus of a startup founder should not be on fundraising, but should be more in terms of creating a sustainable business model to showcase. I think that's important.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for that.